All right, thank you. So for the podcast listeners, what you're seeing right now is just the head of the watch. Um, Everything in this watch, all the angles, all the tolerances are set pretty much by me.
That's
So
crazy.
at the very beginning, when you're talking about engineering costs, basically all of that is waived because I'm doing this for free, quote unquote. Um, so this isn't my full-time job, but I love this as a hobby, so I don't really count the hours that I put in, but I can tell you it's a lot of hours. Um, what you're seeing right now is a 38 millimeter watch in a
Okay.
millimeter case. So what that means is that the bezel is actually 38 millimeters, but then it actually fits like a 37 millimeters watch. And that is very important because the number one thing that I wanted with this watch was to make it very comfortable. So I had to look at the two brands that were very, very comfortable when I wore them. Do you want to take a guess at what these two brands were?
Is it microbrands or is it mainstream?
Mainstream brands, very, very large brands, just letting you know.
Hmm.
Seiko.
Seiko's number one. It's number two.
Uh,
Huh.
uh,
Orient? I don't know.
Number two is Richard Mill. Um,
ooh.
Wait,
yes,
what?
Well, we should have knew that by the background of your background. We should have knew that. Okay.
yes.
Richard Mill. What?
So
Eh,
completely different price ranges, but I can tell you that both companies somehow managed to make the most comfortable watch cases. So I needed to use design elements using both of these watches. So if we actually take a profile of this, I took inspiration from Seiko by putting this little cushion on the case back. So when you actually wear it on your wrist, um, so I actually drew a wrist in. This case back actually
Dang,
pushes
look at this guy.
your wrist.
mm,
Then I took the elements from Richard Mille on their big dive watches. What I took was the angular lugs that they use. So these lugs pull down instead of coming out straight. And if you make them come out straight, the watch will wear a little too big and it's going to be
Right.
really awkward fitting a needle in. But when you angle them this way, it works with a bracelet or works with a strap. Um, so another thing is people said, oh, but this 38 millimeter watch might look too small for my 8-inch wrist. Not a problem. So here's an 8-inch wrist. And what you're seeing here is you have a full dial size. So this dial size here is actually slightly bigger than what you see on a Rolex Submariner. So legibility is uncompromised. At the same time, you have this timing bezel here for the function, and you have minute markers all over the timing bezel because in my day-to-day events, when you're timing, let's say a reaction or timing when an instrument starts, the exact time of the day doesn't matter. But what really matters is the countdown that you start with the bezel time. So what I mean by that is if I just move this bezel, come on, sorry guys,
Yeah, no worries.
still trying to get the hang of this thing live. Okay, it worked yesterday when it this, did this. Um,
So anybody listening, you definitely got to check this out because this
oh
guy
yeah,
is
for
doing a
sure.
whole 3D rendering show off or whatever showcase, if you want to call it that.
You can see why I jumped all over this watch when he sent me pictures, right?
Oh yeah, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. I've been sent pictures by a few guys with some CAD drawings, and I mean they're all incredible. But I got to say, his was the first I'd ever seen. I was absolutely blown away by it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
right.
Yeah.
Thanks. So right now what I've done is I moved the bezel line mark to about 1010. So for example, if you get into the office, let's say exactly 1010, and you want to start a reaction in 20 minutes, the 1010 time doesn't matter. But what's really important is that about like 1031 or 32, you're going to start your reaction. You don't have to be a scientist or engineer to wear this watch. If you're a businessman and let's say you have a presentation in like 30 minutes, you set your bezel to 1010, and then in about um, 1035 to 1037, you should be ready for your presentation. And that is why I made all the graduations on the bezel this way, rather than putting them on the dial itself. So
it definitely creates an optical illusion. Sorry, James, just to quickly jump in. There's guys that have bought this watch, this 38mm diver. They've got 8.5-inch wrists. And because James, I mean, it's a really clever design. He's put all those minute markers on the bezel insert. The bezel almost looks like part of the dial. So it almost looks like the watch is just one big dial. So when it's on your wrist, an 8.5-inch wrist doesn't swallow up this watch at all.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
When you're looking at this on an 8-inch wrist, that's the equivalent of somebody with a 6-inch wrist wearing like a 36mm Datejust, right? It's still proportional, but it's not super, super small either. And that's what I wanted. I wanted everybody to wear this watch, no matter how big or how small your wrist is.
Wow. So let's talk about some more specs about the watch. So obviously you're giving us the sizing. What is the lug to lug measurement on this?
So the lug to lug is 44mm.
44?
44.
What? Wow, that's incredible.
20mm lug, 20mm lug width, so you can put whatever straps you want on it.
Yeah.
And then I also made sure that the lug holes were closer to
drill
the
lugs.
bottom. Yep, drill lugs, bottom of the lug itself, so you can fit whatever strap you want, right? Proportionally, a 3mm thick strap looks the best, but if you have like a gigantic 4mm Panerai style strap, you can put that in too. If you want nails, it will sit in perfectly. And
that's awesome.
that is why I chose the lug hose to be close to the bottom.
Yeah. You know what? One of the watches that I hate in my collection because of that is the SoCal Flight Master. The lug holes are all the way next to the case, and it's almost impossible putting NATO straps on that guy. You have to oh my God, it's so much work.
Right. So the reason why I think some companies put lug hose at the top of the lugs is so that when you wear a strap and the I guess the case end of the lugs, so like this part that you're seeing, so that's not exposed. So when you put a strap, that's basically it. But this watch is compact enough where you don't really see that gap, but it doesn't feel like a small watch at all.
Very cool.
Dimensions is that the total thickness is 10.7mm.
No way. Wow.
This is on paper, right? So we can just hopefully even do this. So.
That was the whole purpose of the Miyota 9015. James basically designed this watch around that movement because he wanted it no thicker than sort of 10.5mm thick. It came
insane.
Out 10.7mm. It's incredible. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So can y'all talk about some of the adjustments y'all made to this watch versus the first one?
Right.
Oh yeah. What are the differences between version 1 and 2?
Yeah.
So right now you are looking at version 2 because this does have the JNG logo on both the dial and the crown. The lume markers on the numerals are enlarged. They are much bigger. Right now on screen it looks absolutely massive, but you really have to just zoom out a little bit, and then you can see that the indices, the gap of the indices pretty much disappear. Another thing that we did was the first watch we had printed numerals, but this time we're using applied indices, and we're going to powder coat the indices, very similar to what the Tudor does with the Pelagos and what Omega does under Speedmaster, because I don't really want these super shiny indices on the dial. And then I fill it in with BGW9 lume. Initially, I wanted C3 because C3 is the more legible lume color, but due to democracy, people wanted BGW9, so that's what we're doing.
BGW9, huh? Okay.
Yes. All of the white-ish elements that you see are lume, except for the applied logo, and the date frame is loomed.
What about the bezel? Any lume on the bezel, or?
Yeah, fully loomed bezel.
Perfect.
Yes.
120 click.
120 click.
Is it friction? Is it a bearing?
It's not a bearing, but it's using like a click spring. I don't even know what it's called. It's like if you remove like a SoCal bezel and you see that spring with its
a friction spring, I think. Yeah.
Right. So yes, we are using a friction spring, but it has 2 prongs instead of 1 prong. And what the 2 prong does is that it makes the watch have pretty much no backplate. So people who have operated this bezel know it's pretty clicky. So Hear that?
We're offering different dials as well, aren't we, James? Whereas the first one, it was just a date version only. There will be a date and a no date version, and there'll also be a blue sunburst dial and a DLC coated version. Hopefully, this is what we're hoping to offer.
Yeah. So
that's blue nice. Yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is going to be pretty cool because I think a lot of companies, they make their blues very muted, which is totally understandable. Like if you look at the 5711 Nautilus, I was on the waiting list for that. I can't buy one anymore. I'm totally kidding. Not on that.
I'm like, what?
No, but the blue that they use on the Nautilus is like a very muted blue, but I want this one to be bright. So that's why I chose this specific color. It's like an electric blue.
Right.
It's almost closer to purple depending on the light that you put in.
Right.
This is obviously a rendering, but in real life it should look dark blue purple depending on the light you have.
So let me ask you something.
Sorry, go on. You go. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna ask about so the no date version. Obviously, that's what you're showing us right now. Are you gonna have a ghost position because of the date?
We are going to have a ghost position.
Okay.
And the reason why it's going to have a ghost position is because Maxi does not have the supply to the Miota 9039.
Got it.
At the same time, this watch will be priced hopefully less than $300 US. And look, you're going to be really picky at that point, right? Like if this was $600, yes, it's going to be like a no date without the ghost position, because we're going to try to supply more of the no date movements, but we're being very careful with how we spend our money in the production of these watches.
No, that's
it's a compromise. Crazy. Unfortunately, we have to make compromises.
No, it's less than $300. Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's good specs for $300. But I was going to say the biggest change, the one that James has been working on, and we haven't mentioned yet, is this tapering 5-link engineer style bracelet. This thing has been an unbelievable challenge for James.
Right.
Unbelievable.
So when I first started drawing this bracelet, I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to be so easy. It's a bracelet. Everyone do it. It's taken me like 3 months to do, and it's just been like a hair-ripping nightmare.
Wow.
But I think we finally got it. So if you look at this bracelet on the screen, it does look like a true engineer bracelet, not a Jubilee, because a Jubilee has really thin center.
Right.
And then over here, I made sure that the links were proportional at the very bottom of the bracelet and also at the very top of the bracelet. And
it almost seems like every single one of those articulates, right? So it's going to be super comfortable on the wrist.
Exactly. Every single one of these links articulate, and these links are spaced out to the point where that you're not going to have a place where you can't bend it anymore. This should be free-flowing, kind of like the same XKX Jubilee. This is why they're spaced out in this particular way.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Been a lot of work, hasn't it, James? Unbelievable. I remember about 2 months ago, he said to me he had 900 design files in his folder for this bracelet, and that was for version 1. He's now on version 3.
I'm on version a lot. So the renderings that you're seeing right now is actually not the file that I usually work on, because I deleted a bunch of stuff to make this file look pretty. The other one is just a complete, dumpster fire with all of these deleted files, half-made bracelets, and whatever. And what you're seeing right now is pretty much the 99% final version of what we're going to have in production.
And the minimum order for us for this bracelet is 500, so there'll be 150 bracelets left over. And James has designed a bespoke curved end link to fit the Exciton, but he's also designed flat end links, so the bracelet will be available on its own. And it is a really unusual bracelet to see a proper tapering 5-link engineer style bracelet that looks like all of the links are fairly equally sized. I don't think I've ever seen one. And we know why, because it's been such a headache to design.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. I gotta say, guys, honestly, by all the specs and all the work that's going into it, and the way that it looks, I really think you're undervaluing this watch. In my opinion,
Sapphire Crystal, too correct.
Oh, of course, I'm pretty sure. I think this watch, in my opinion, should really be punching 500 or close to 500, if not more, especially because
Yeah,
of the Yoda movement.
I think the problem, I mean, I agree. I think it's worth that 100%. If it was a proper micro brand, if it was Zelos or someone like that designing this watch, they'd sell hundreds, if not thousands, of these watches at $500. The problem is my channel is focused a lot on affordable watches from AliExpress. You know, the majority of my audience, understandably, I filmed or reviewed a lot of affordable watches, so they're not an audience that really wants to pay $500 for watches. And you know, it's just James and I. Like I said, you know, we've never met. It's just a couple of guys doing this for a bit of a hobby, persuading 350 to 500 people to part with $500 for this watch. If Kickstarter doesn't work, it's not going to happen. We need to make sure it works. We need to make sure we sell enough watches so that anybody can get one. And so we had a really long, hard think about how much to charge for this watch. And we think we've priced it very, very fairly.
Yes.
Oh, more than fairly.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Other note about the design is that this looks like a diver watch, but it is not categorized as a diver watch. However, it still holds a 200 meters of water resistance as a byproduct of the design choices that I've made. So you talked about a sapphire crystal. This is a 2 millimeter thick sapphire crystal. That's making it 1 millimeter thick might make it too fragile for everyday use, right? You're gonna see 1 millimeter thick crystals on dress watches, but I want people to like use this in the most intense environments ever. That's why 2 millimeters is used as the crystal. At the same time, the case back also has a little, you know, it's also a little cushioned at the back. So this reduces the thickness a little bit. And if we actually just do the analysis, this is a 1.5 millimeter thick case back. So it's rigid enough, but it still flexes just a bit if you're doing super deep diving. Wanted to use this watch for diving.
Wow. So let me ask you, why is it not considered a dive watch? Is it because it's not rated by an entity, or?
We just haven't put it under the ISO 64 whatever blah blah number test.
I mean, but it's still a
not
dive watch
certified
nonetheless.
test.
It's not
Yeah.
a certified dive watch, but it is a
Yeah.
dive watch. I mean, it's
Not a certified dive watch.
Yeah.
With
With a
all
sciencey
BS, by the
twist.
way.
Have you shown the case back, James? You should show the case back. So I always sold this watch as a sort of skin diver inspired tool / dive watch with a sciencey twist.
Yes.
That's cool. I don't even know what that is, but that's cool.
Just conversions and stuff.
I'll tell you what this is. So this graph over here is a reaction progress diagram. And this basically means that the starting reactants have a higher energy than the products, and this is the activation energy barrier. So in graduate school, there were some days that were just really, really difficult for me, and I wanted to procrastinate. But I just drew this diagram on a sheet of paper, and I knew that if I put in the work, I could overcome this really stressful barrier, and I can be at a happier state at the very end. So when
I'm pretty sure, P. Ross, I heard you saying earlier, that was exactly what you needed on the back of a watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's still so cool, honestly. I don't understand any of it, but
I don't know. It went over my head, everything you just said, but
Exactly.
that's cool.
Whatever it is, it's all good.
and then the first line here, it says 1240 nanometers to 1 electron volt to 96.5 kilojoules per mole.
Did you say nanometers?
Yes, 1240 nanometers.
Woo.
So this is referring to the wavelength of light. So physicists will typically work in nanometers, engineers will typically work in electron volts, and chemists will typically work in kilojoules per mole to describe the bonding energy of their compound. The reason why I put this here is because I've worked in all three of these environments, and this is the communication that I use to talk to different people depending on what their field is. And then the conversions here are from metric to imperial units, because you know, if someone's like, hey, give me 33 fluid ounces of water, I'd be like, oh, what's that? And I'm like, oh, that's about a liter. So
Oh, that's cool.
it's
Wow.
it's just different.
It's different. Some people, like, they have a case back of like some dude with, you know, a trident saying I'm the Shark Diver 9000, but you know, I'm not a diver. They don't want to put that on.
James wanted a watch that he could use to cheat in exams, basically.
Basically, yeah. No, that's cool.
He's dropping science on this one. I got to clap this one up, y'all. Dropping science. Clap this one up.
Thanks.
That's cool.
Another thing is if I take this case back off, what you see
he's still flexing. Go ahead, flex. Still flexing. Go ahead.
Sorry, you have these two Viton O-rings. And
oh crap!
Viton's because it's very chemical resistant, but it's also very water resistant. And then if you want to service in the future, you can buy these things off of eBay, AliExpress, and put in new gaskets, because I want this watch to be serviced by anyone who wants to fix their watch, right? If you don't know how to take apart a Miura 9015, that's fine. Just buy a new one, slap it in. I don't want to be like another microbrand when they're like, oh, you got to send it back to us for warranty. We're going to charge you outrageous fees for doing a literal movement swap. So I stand by the way to repair.
This was a scientific
man. This guy thought of everything.
I love
Holy
it. I
smokes.
love it.
Hey, Gary, you partnered up with somebody really good right here.
Now you're understanding why I'm front of house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy thought of everything.
What he's talking about half the time. I just look pretty and make videos.
So yeah,
it's incredible, man. Hey, congrats. That's you got a winner in your hands for sure. That's crazy.
How many dial colors you doing? Just
dial
blue and the black.
3,
yes.
Right? 3? But the DLC, right?
Right. Yes. So one black, one blue, and the DLC will only be available with the black dial, because with the DLC, cool. You know what? Let's just make this DLC. Let's just do this, right?
Oh, here go another flex. Yes, I love it.
Look at this guy. He's changing the color.
Woo!
Should have told him to make it pink just to put him on the spot.
I think I shouldn't be selling these watches. I don't know why I'm doing these videos, James. I think you should just do everything. Just let me know when they're sold.
Right. I was playing with the indoor environment, so let me just change this up a little more.
Hey, after this video goes up, P. Ross, Omega and Rolex are going to be knocking at his door like, hey, we need an engineer. Worried. You want to?
Oh, yeah.
I'm really worried now. I'm going to lose the brains behind the operation. It's just going to be me going, I like watches.
Yeah. That's cool. That looks nice.
Give me one more second.
The DLC version, I got to say, looks incredible. I uploaded a video recently.
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I showed a picture of the DLC version, and I got to say that's the one I'll be wearing when it goes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, looks awesome.
Let me make this look even better, right? So I'm on the render screen now. Everything's frozen because I'm on a Zoom call. But yeah, just look at this, right?
Yeah.
It gives you that like SWAT team military vibe.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
People are really going to have to watch your video over the podcast, aren't they? Otherwise, they're going to be missing
yeah. They're going to be completely lost. They're going to be like, what are these guys talking about? So if you're listening to this, we just went through this whole things with James. He just has his 3D software open and he's sharing it with us and he's changing all kinds of things. So yeah, you definitely go to my YouTube channel if you're listening 100%. To this.
Yeah.
You're definitely going to have to see the visuals on this one.
Yeah, no, this is crazy. Wow.
Well, hopefully we can get it made, and if we get it made, we'll 100% send you a couple of watches, different variations to review. We're curious to see what you think of it, but it won't get made if we can't sell 350 watches. Unfortunately, that's the downside. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. When is the campaign going live, and how can people support your watches?
Well, that was sort of the update I did a couple of days ago, really, because I hadn't produced any content on it for a while. And there's just been a lot going on behind the scenes. We had originally planned to pretty much have it launched and sold by now, but the bracelet's taken a long time. There's just been a lot of delays. I'm hoping that in a couple of weeks from now, so it's the 11th of April, in a couple of weeks we'll have everything we need to know in order for me to produce a video where I say, right, this is what's on offer, this is what it's going to cost, this is where you need to go to buy the watch. And I think it'll be Kickstarter. It'll run for maybe 30 days, I think it is, which is the sort of
30
optimum
days,
time.
right.
And for those 30 days, I'll be on it, trying to just promote them and sell the watches. And we'll know fairly quickly whether or not it's going to happen, I think. But I reckon in 2 or 3 weeks, we should be in a position to launch that video, start to promote the watch, and then hopefully we can drum up a bit of support, get the Kickstarter live and sell enough watches just to get it made. To be honest, it'd be real shame if we don't get it made.
And I hate to say this, but it needs to be said, right? So you put it on Kickstarter and it doesn't get funded, right? Which I didn't even want to bring that up because I wish you guys the best of luck. What is option number 2? You can't just let this watch die. This is incredible. Are you going to do a pre-order on your website?
Think we'd give up. Yeah, no, I don't think we'd give up. I think it would just be a case of giving it a bit of time and just trying to either raise the funds so that we didn't have to run the campaign and raise as much money the next time. Because I think the plan is not necessarily to raise every single penny for the whole production run. It's just to get the minimum amount that we need to get the watches made.
Right.
Exactly. James and I at this point, we're not interested in making money, profit. It's not about that at all. It's about raising enough money to paint Chronos to make these watches, and then if we end up with watches that haven't sold, we'll deal with that later. We just need to raise the minimum amount, and so if it doesn't happen the first time, we'll just make another plan and just try and reduce that limit, that minimum campaign amount that we need, but I mean, it's frustrating because we know it's a good formula, but the amount of money that is needed to get this watch made, so I have it in my hand to show people, is so much. It's just not the kind of money that most people have.
Right.
I did think about trying to get maybe some sort of financial backing or anything like that, but I think if we can promote the watch enough, the product's good enough, we'll get the support and it will work. If it doesn't, we'll just do it again in a few months, maybe, or in a month or two. Yeah, we'll just see how it goes.
Good. Cool.
Yeah. What else can you do?
Yeah,
I think all you can do. Successful.
I'm pretty confident you're going to be successful.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I want one myself. Remember, I'm just doing all of this so I get more watches. So
right. You want your own watch, so
yeah. I want a DLC one. That's all I want. I just want the black one.
Hey, listen, I want the DLC one too, and the blue diamond. Yeah. That one looks.
Yeah. He wants all of them. He wants the whole collection.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. He wants one of every single one. Yeah.
I don't blame him.
That's fine. He can have one of every single one. Quite honestly, he's earned it. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I have one thing that I forgot to show you that's on the bracelets.
Okay,
so right now, this bracelet is really dark. Let's just move it to an actual wrist. So right now, you see that the top of the bracelet is flat, right?
Yeah.
Oh, on the AP Royal Lug, when you do that wrist roll, that you get that crazy light play, that's going to have the same effect because
that's cool.
Flat tops. But then if you're wondering, but if it has flat tops, it's going to be really uncomfortable on the bottom. Don't worry about that, because on the bottom, these links are curved, and they're curved in a way
so
it feels very fluid on your wrist, right? It shouldn't feel like there's any sharp points, and this is why we put the curves at the back of the bracelet.
Wow.
The only thing that we haven't really done is the clasp. So this clasp drawn here is not the clasp we're going to be using. It's just here as a placeholder. We're going to be using the same clasp used on the Chronos GMT, which is just a milled inner with a folded sheet metal outer. So the reason why we chose this clasp is because it is very thin for the watch, right? We looked at other things with diverse extensions and whatnot, but that's going to really increase the clasp thickness.
Yeah.
So we wanted to eliminate that. I've actually designed a special clasp for this watch, but then the production costs were going to be way too high because this is an experimental clasp that I've designed. I might be able to show you guys after this recording, but this new clasp that I've designed is self-adjustable, and you can repair it with your own tools because if you have something like, let's say, the Tudor Pelagos clasp, are you guys familiar with that?
No.
So
I think I've seen it, but
right. So that one has three sliding adjustments, and then on the final one you have a spring-loaded self-adjusting feature. So I have something similar, not using the exact same design because then I'd be like murdered by Tudor's lawyers.
I've already lost one channel, James. I don't want to lose another one. Right?
And we didn't even talk about that, Gary. But yeah,
but I'm not sure I want to.
So what I'm saying now is, like, if this campaign is successful and if we sell these watches, the profit that we're going to be making is going to be used for the research and development of the self-adjusting, self-fixing clasp, self-servicing clasp if you want to repair it in the future. Yes,
Nice. You mean when it gets funded and when it gets made, not if. Come on, buddy.
Yeah, it's
We have
gonna
faith
get
in you
fun.
guys. Come on.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we can talk about other things now. I can
That's
talk
very
about.
that's very
He
cool.
had
Well,
his fix of teaching us all about watch design.
wow.
Oh, man.
Man, so
Unbelievable.
we got about 7 minutes left. Do you guys want to talk about other things real quick, just so people
Go
get
for
to
it. Yeah,
know you?
absolutely. Whatever you want.
James, I guess, talk other things. Anything you want to recommend? Talk about?
So this week has been crazy for watches in general. There was Watches and Wonders, right?
Oh yeah. Oh man, so many things. So many things.
Yeah, so many things. Some things really amazing, other things a little more disappointing.
Rolex Explorer 2. Oh god. I want to get into that.
Yeah, but the new Breitlings, they look so.
Oh, they're beautiful. I agree, man. 100%. Cool. Gary.
Yes.
Other
Hit me.
things. Anything.
Okay.
Anything.
Okay. So I'm going to ask P. Ross. You had a mask on earlier. Have we interrupted you saving lives for this chat?
Oh no.
You know, you weren't
no.
mid-operation. You haven't got some guy's heart hanging out somewhere. You look like you're in a hospital saving lives, man.
No.
What are you doing?
I'm not in a hospital. I actually work for a drug dealer.
Oh.
You know what I mean? A professional legal drug dealer. You know
Does he want to buy a watch?
Hey, who knows? Man? Who knows? Probably so.
Or 100.
But no, I work for a pharmaceutical company, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
You definitely, when you first came on camera, you had your mask under your chin. I thought, oh my God, someone's on the table. They've got stuff cut open.
Yeah.
No, I just realized when we went to break and came back that it was a little bit too hot, so I had to take the mask off. I'm the only one in here, so I'm good.
That's good. Thank you, P. Ross. Thank you, P. Ross.
Yeah. I don't know why you didn't tell me that at first, Miguel. You saw it. You should have said something.
Yo, you look fine with a mask. It's COVID, man. I'm used to seeing people
I thought
with
it was
masks
a fashion statement, to be honest. Instead of rocking the mask, I just rocked the grey tips. They're not real. You know, I put them in
they're
myself.
fake. Oh, okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
No way. No way.
I tell you what, though, I did once use Just for Men, and I dyed my beard. It's a bit of a social experiment. I went back to work in the office one day with the thickest, blackest, dark beard you've ever seen in your life, and some of the comments were absolutely genius. I'm into my social experiments. I went back into work once with a wig as well, and the amount of double takes I saw was fantastic. Funnily enough, I bought wigs from AliExpress. I was hoping to have one for this interview. Honestly, the wigs look incredible. And I got one with grey tips to match the beard, but it didn't arrive in time.
Well, I'm never dying, so I'm getting a little grey. I'm never dying. I refuse to.
Yeah, I just did it. Well, actually, the real reason I did it was because it was my wife's 40th birthday, and I wanted her to just experience having a younger-looking husband for a week or two. But that was what I was telling everyone at work. But actually, I was just curious to see if I could rock it permanently, but I couldn't. Yeah, it didn't look good. But yeah, okay. As long as we're not interrupting you from saving lives,
No, I'm good.
You're good. All right. Yeah. P. Ross, other things for you?
It's been a WrestleMania weekend all week. All week. You know what I mean? Part 2 come on tonight. You know, it's been very, very exciting. So this is the first time they've actually had a live audience since last year. So a lot more excitement instead of just like the bland. They had a Thunderdome thing where they had people on their computer screen screaming and hollering.
Oh. Okay.
So now they got a live audience, and it's definitely much better. So
it's different, right? Yeah. Nothing like a live audience as opposed to this whole COVID digital crap. But
I've got to say though, I'm really impressed with how these broadcasters have improved their skills when it comes to fake crowd noises. At the beginning, it was shocking. It was it was too uncomfortable to watch and listen to. But now. Now I forget that there's no audience there. They've got all these oohs and ahs. They time them perfectly. I'm absolutely blown away by the skills.
The problem I have with that is like it may not be nothing to ooh and ah over. And you just be looking at it like, really, just it ain't even work for ooh and ah. But hey, they trying.
But you can just imagine there's some guy there with buttons going, "Oh, that's worth an ooh." Oh,
Right,
right.
yeah.
Right.
We should get those for the podcast. Ooh,
Yeah.
a little clap. So when James
Right.
comes out with his 3D renderings, a little clap.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
We need some crowd noises. Yeah,
Some
that's what
horns.
these podcasts are missing. Yeah.
Yeah. For
All right,
sure.
guys, we literally got about 2 minutes. Where can people find you and kind of follow you and follow the journey? I guess James will go with you first.
I am only on Instagram, JF_watches_99. Nowhere else. Don't even try.
Don't even try. All right, Gary, where can people
Yeah,
find you?
I like watches on YouTube, and I like watches too. Peter Ross, you mentioned earlier, I got two channels. That I tell you, that is a useful thing to have when you get your channel deleted and you got a second channel to fall back on.
Right.
People were like, "Why have you got two channels? That's crazy." Nah, they're not laughing now, are they?
Right.
I'm the one laughing.
Right, for sure.
Oh,
So yeah, I like watches and I like watches too. I like watches as my primary channel. It's basically for reviews, that sort of stuff. My second one is just like a casual channel. I just waffle on a little bit, and talk rubbish. But I might have to get you guys on. I might have to reverse the turn the tables a little bit. Get you guys on.
That'd be awesome.
Do an interview with you guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We'll be down for that.
Oh yeah.
Sounds good.
Anytime.
Absolutely.
P. Ross, where can people find you?
Ross Wristwatch Love everywhere, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and check out the SoCal Watch Reviews podcast Facebook page. Blowing up everywhere, yo. Blowing up everywhere.
Nice. So SoCal Watch Reviews for me with Instagram, with my YouTube channel, and of course this podcast. And if you speak Spanish or somebody you know speaks Spanish, Relojeando is my Spanish YouTube channel where I do the same thing, just review watches and just kind of share my passion for watches.
I speak a bit of Spanish, by the way, just really quickly. Me llamo Gary Williams. Se escribe Gary Ubli Dubli ILLIAMS.
Okay. These people didn't catch it. Some things you said right, some people I was confused. But no, Gary, that's cool. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Where's the library? Anyway, thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Best of luck to you with the watch. You have our support. Let us know how we can help you, and wish you the best of luck.
Cheers, guys. Thank you so much. It was fun.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for everybody for watching and listening, and stay humble.